And we are back.
Thank you very much for joining us, everybody, for Salt of the Streets. This is part 4 of episode 128. My name is Donovan.
I am indeed Colin.
And we are extremely happy to have you guys here. Thank you for everyone who is returning. I want to remind you to like, comment, and subscribe to us here on YouTube. We also have our Facebook, Instagram, Patreon, everything else at Salt of the Streets. Go to our Patreon, subscribe, help us make more, better content just like this. Ooh. We also have our personal social media. I am at Salt of the Street on Twitter and at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. Colin is at Big Bird Offie on both of those things. And you can find all of this on our website at saltofthestreets.com. The last sponsor of the day is leggings and aprons. If you need some cakes, if you are in this local area, she is just about to start taking orders again. English muffins first. If you want some English muffins, and she does mail them. They do go in the mail. They've gone to Albuquerque, to Florida. So
if it fits the chips,
they go in a brown Bennick box. They ship.
Yeah.
So if you want some, let us know. Leggings and
getting in
aprons
on that order because making like breakfast Sammys and stuff before getting up in the morning. I try to make like a couple days at a time, 2 to 3 days at a time. I'm not trying to do like a whole week and go hard, but I have been avoiding I almost bought some of those stupid fucking, what are they called? The standard brand of English muffins the other day. And I said, if I buy these, Jordan's going to fucking kill me. I will wait and I will have it on regular ass bread until then. Because once you have had a leggings and apron English muffin, God, I wish I remember the old name. You'll never buy another brand ever again.
Yeah.
Period. There's just... just for context, I was a professional cook for almost a decade. So actually over a decade because I did it a little bit after my military career too. So, and I can, with all the force that my experience gives me, some people might call me an expert. If I was in the government, I'd be considered an expert on this. I could say hands down, literally the best English muffins that I have ever had in my entire life. Shout out leggings and aprons.
Yeah.
And I am first on the list. I call the first batch of 12, please.
Absolutely. Dad and Dax Day, she made some this week to get back in the swing of things. So I had those same sandwiches that we had, 6 eggs in a smoothie every morning. Fuck yeah,
Ooh,
6 eggs. Get after it, Bilbo. Fuck yeah.
I hope you're hitting the gym with all that protein. That's a lot of protein, baby.
Gotta be. No way you're crushing 6 eggs not hitting the gym.
And a smoothie.
Yeah, no
Smoothies
way.
Smoothies are basically a gym's person's, I challenge somebody to find somebody that's on a regular smoothie, intake diet that isn't going to the gym or working out in some fashion.
I have smoothie almost every day just to get more protein in my diet.
I
weigh over 200 pounds. To try and get 1 gram of protein per pound is like insanely difficult unless you're crushing a steak like every day.
That's the 1 gram per pound?
That's if you're trying to lose weight but maintain your muscle mass, it's 1 gram of protein per pound.
Buddy, that
which is
so
a lot,
much.
Bro. Yeah.
God.
So I'm like doubling up protein. I'm telling you, the eat is
That's
a struggle right now.
man.
The eating is a struggle right now.
Of course it is.
Yeah.
Well, and
it's
of
a lot
course,
of protein to try to take
with
in.
inflation being what it is, you're getting so broke doing it. Fuck, bud.
Exactly. Yeah. So I'm crushing protein shakes like almost every day just to get an extra 50 grams of protein in because it's tough, bro.
All right. Well, this is the point of the show where I begin to shill for the CCP for the first and only time.
Let's hear it.
So as part of today's beer selection, I was at Total Wine. I'm just going. They have this cool thing. If you don't know, Total Wine is it's like a giant big box store for alcohol. And one of the things they do is in the beer aisle, they have these things called mix and match. And so it's just this broad spectrum of basically loosey beers that you can fill up a 6-pack with. They're all priced individually, and you can just get whatever you want and carry it out. That's where all these beers have come from today. And I just saw these, and I had to get them because they were so off the wall. This is a puffed rice Chinese pale ale, and I just had to try it. And then I saw that one there for you. It's a jasmine tea beer. I think it says ale brewed with jasmine tea or something like that. Beer brewed with
jasmine tea, yeah.
And that one automatically reminded me of the Avatar jasmine. Is that an IPA or a pale ale?
Yeah, I think it's an IPA.
I think it's an IPA, a jasmine IPA that Elysian makes. So I got that one for you. And I got this weird puffed rice Chinese pale ale. I don't know what the hell this is going to bring, but I imagine it's probably going to taste a little bit like Budweiser, because as a what they call an adjunct to brewing is most clean beer is made from roasted barley, which is called malted barley, right? And then, and then hops and yeast. That's a standard. That's like German Imperial Law shit. And those three things, and that's it. But then Budweiser adds a lot of things like rice and corn, which also impart different sugars that can be converted into alcohol. The yeast can eat, and then it eats the protein and poops out alcohol and carbonation, right? And rice and corn are common adjuncts, especially in domestic light beers. And I saw that. I had to give it a shot. And I have a feeling this thing's going to look like fucking water when I pour it.
It's pretty light. That was fast.
It is pretty light. And I'm holding it to the camera, and I didn't even switch the camera. No, it's safe. It's totally safe.
You're an expert.
And
I trust
it's actually
you.
got...
It's cloudy a little bit.
Yeah, it's actually got way more color and character than I would have originally anticipated.
I'm almost done with this one.
Yeah, you can finish off your crazy Scandia beer.
It's very good. It's definitely heavy.
Ooh.
I like it though. I was honestly that whole last
clean.
segment. I was just watching you. I was listening. I was just listening, taking in like everybody else.
Sounds like a stout Bud Light. Yeah, exactly.
Yep. Yeah. I don't know what the brewery situation is like where you're at in Indiana. I believe is what Bilbo said. Around Zeke, right?
Yeah, because Zeke's pretty. Yeah, I think they're pretty close.
Zeke's in Indiana. Yeah. So I don't know what the brewery situation is like there, but in Washington, there's fucking micro breweries everywhere, just tiny little breweries all over the place.
Interesting. Does not suck. I won't say that much. It's very sweet for a light beer.
Okay.
Very, very sweet. Very strange.
Here we go. This is
Baby jasmine, dude. I love that. That can looks so good.
I'm going to move the microphone so I can get the full arm extension.
Yeah, there you go. Glug, 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 glug. Perfect pour. Shout out Bilbo Swaggins. Well, if you watch the beer show, you'll see this is not a regular occurrence on my part.
Yeah, Bilbo, you checked out the beer show.
The beer show is this lovely little fun endeavor I do every Friday. Sit down, have a beer, talk about it. Not a 1-inch line, though. Yeah, this is true. This is true.
Nice.
That is a good-looking beer right there. That is good. Does it smell like jasmine? I fucking love jasmine, man. Avatar ruined me. Hey, you got some on the old schnoz. I got like one of them. I'm German, so I'm assuming I did my DNA thing. I don't have any Jewish blood in me, but I got a Jewish nose. It's huge. It's a parrot beak. It's massive. I fit right in.
A big bird.
I live across from Bourbon County. Bourbon country. Oh, yeah. Bourbon is
mad light.
Is it mad light? You get that floral jasmine in there?
No.
Oh.
It definitely smells like tea. It's a deeper smell.
Ooh, interesting.
Yeah, it's a deeper smell. It's not the same floral from...
That can art is really cool. Hard, yeah, it is.
This one's a super cool can.
Yeah, it's definitely super dope. I got to tell you, bro, I'm a sucker for a cool can, too.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I don't care what the beer is. If I like the can, I'm like, oh, I'm going to try that one. But then again, I'm not afraid of any beer I'll drink everything from fucking the champagne of beers to something dark and
that's good,
barrel-aged. That's good?
You can taste, it's like an undertone of tea. You know how green tea's mad subtle?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah. Do you mind if I take a sip? I'm super curious.
No, it's delicious. I'm a big fan. Yeah, it's super subtle. Yeah.
Very subtle.
It's really good.
Damn.
Yes.
Yeah, like it doesn't... The jasmine tea is, I think, the difference there because, like, Elysian is more about the jasmine flower.
Yes.
And so you get that floral. That's a tea beer. Wow. We might have to fuck around with that when the fucking brewery comes online, bro. That is not...
Yeah, I wonder if they just put the dry tea in there or if they, do they put a little bit of tea in it?
I imagine they would add the tea in the...
Beer brewed with jasmine tea. So
Yeah.
they have to put... You cook beer first, right, in like a big-ass pot?
Yeah.
So that's probably what they're doing then,
I would imagine, in my brewing experience, if I was to brew this, right, I would add that in with the hops at the end of the brew. You brew it for like 5 to 10 minutes at the very end.
We should do that.
And I think that would be a fantastic idea.
Very good.
It is.
Salt of the Streets beer coming soon to you.
Bourbon is the superior drink. I'm not gonna argue with you, Bilbo. I mean, people love Scotch. I love Scotch. It's a good deal. I like whiskey, but So this is the way it worked out. We'll just vamp a second before we dive into today's topics. Right?
Segment 4 is the grab bag. We're out here.
This is a grab bag topic.
This is what we do. We've had 3 beers. We're chilling now.
Exactly.
Bilbo Swaggins knows what's up. He's out here.
Amen. So, Coast Guard career. I am, surprisingly enough, I am 30. I'll be 35 this year, I think. I think that's how Jake. I'm going to have to ask Jake. I don't remember. That's because I shaved recently. That's the problem. But when I was, in my early adulthood, I couldn't drink beer. I couldn't stomach it. It was nasty.
Me
it tasted
either.
like I grew up mucking horse stalls and shit like that, and beer generally always just kind of reminded me of horse piss that had sat there for like 2 days in the stall in the wintertime. And it always was never appealing to me. But by the time I was like 23 or 24, I had been forcing myself at least twice a year to try to get through like a Bud Light or something like that. And one time it hit and I was like, hey, I could drink that. And then next thing you know, boom, I'm here. And I was but before that, right? Before that happened, I was 21 and I could drink. And so I remember my ship was down at the Baltimore yards down in fucking Glen Burnie. It's a wonderful, wonderful town that has a pizzeria with bullet holes in it. That's the kind of neighborhood it is, but that's where the Coast Guard, official Coast Guard dry dock is at. So we were down there doing some maintenance repairs and shit, and go up to this enlisted man's club, which is just a bar, dance floor, kind of a place for, the enlisted guys to hang out. And I'm sitting there at the bar, and there's another cook. He's a cook chief that's stationed there, and he's behind the bar and shit. And our engineering officer, who was on my ship, he was an enlisted guy. He was quit drinking 2 weeks ago. Hey, shout out Joseph Garrett, man. If you're not drinking, I would assume that you have good reasons for it, and props to you for not doing that, man. But I like to drink, so this is what we're talking about. So I go to the E Club, right? And I'm hanging out, and my old salty fucking senior chief, he's from he's from Georgia, I believe. Real deep Southern guy. And I'm sitting there, and I was too pussy to be drinking beer at that point. I didn't like it. So I was drinking whiskey and Coke. That was my thing. Give me a Jack and Coke. Give me a Jack and Coke. And he sees me order one, and he goes, you ever had a bourbon? Like, I see you drinking whiskey. You ever had bourbon? He's like, good old Southern boys, we drink bourbon, not whiskey. And I was like, I've never had that shit, but let's try it. So he ordered me a Jim Beam and Coke. My world just clicked and changed. I have never placed bourbon on a second tier in the world of whiskeys after that.
That's the key.
It is just bourbon has, because when you're talking about whiskeys, right, bourbon requires a certain percentage of it to be a corn mash. When you do the distilling process, it can't all just be, wheat or whatever it is that you're going to make whiskey out of. A certain percentage of it has to be corn, which makes it, I want to say slightly sweeter, if that makes sense, in the world of hard alcohol. And I've just never gone back, man. There is nothing in the world of brown liquor that can replace bourbon, in my mind.
Bourbon all the way, huh?
I would take a down home fucking Kentucky bourbon over the most expensive bottle of, scotch that you can find. I will take it 100 times over. It just tastes better, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes I like the taste of a swamp in a drink. Then I drink scotch.
Just a little hint of swamp.
Yeah, just all the hints. That's what that peat moss comes from. Is like these Scottish bogs and shit. But, if I want that, I'll go to scotch. But generally speaking, if I want whiskey, I'm going to drink bourbon because it's just superior in every way. It just really is.
All right. So we'll jump into our first topic here. We want to start with Uvalde, right? So over the last few weeks, we've had some pretty stark updates from Uvalde police. Let's see here. Sorry, let me get the correct window pulled up. Let's see. Okay. So two of the things that we've seen, two of the bigger things that we've seen is video footage came out from, Robb Elementary. Right. And in this video footage, there are some screenshots in which we can see police officers 3, maybe 5 minutes into the actual event at the school have rifles and a ballistic shield at the end of the hallway. We found out that there are two doors that go into that room that were unlocked, that were not attempted at any point in time, while the chief of the Uvalde police fumbled with his keys and said that he was looking for the key that would work for the door. And, every minute he's just more stressed and more stressed and more stressed. Excuse me.
Excuse you.
We have also seen an extreme amount of pushback from everywhere, from Uvalde police all the way up to the state government, pushing back on releasing documentation about the shooting itself, the event itself, pushing back on releasing body camera footage and different documentation that lead into it. And
I'm fairly sure that to this day we don't have body camera footage, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So let's see here. This is one, again, that I have from the New York Post. New York Post, we use them a lot, and part of the reason we use them so much is really just because they don't ever ask us to subscribe to their shit. We can always use the New York Post. So I just sent you that article.
I do kind of go to them more regularly after Sora Bamari kind of went over to the New York Post as one of the lead editors after leaving Commentary Magazine. Just because I was familiar with him and his thinking.
Right.
And I trusted the New York Post's editorial staff a little bit more because I actually knew somebody a little bit that went to run that department.
There you go.
Yeah. Yeah, people forget that he used to be on Commentary a lot.
So this is the New York Post article that we have here. City of Uvalde is trying to avoid handing over records on the Texas school district's embattled police chief and the botched police response to the school massacre, despite multiple requests from the Post and various other media outlets. Lawyers hired by the city wrote to Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton last week, laying out 52 reasons why they shouldn't have to adhere to the numerous requests for records under the state's sunshine laws. The law enforcement response to a massacre that left 19 kids and 2 teachers dead has come under intense scrutiny after it was revealed the school district police chief, Pete Arredondo, didn't immediately storm classrooms to kill the gunman. In the wake of the May 24th shooting, the Post requested all audio from 911 calls, including some made from the terrified students, as the gunman stormed into Robb Elementary School. Records related to the embattled police chief were requested by other media outlets. In the letter, lawyers representing the city asked AG Paxton to rule on whether the information requested by media outlets is, quote, accepted from disclosure under the Public Information Act. The city's claims that the requested information is not information that is collected, assembled, or maintained under a law or ordinance or in connection with the transaction of official business by a government body or for a government body is exempted from disclosure, the letter signed by attorney Cynthia Trevino says. The AG's attorney didn't immediately respond to the Post's request for comment. Arredondo has largely been blamed for the botched police response to the school massacre after he ordered law enforcement to try and negotiate with the gunman, allowing almost an hour to pass before a group made up of mostly U.S. Border Patrol agents bucked orders and stormed in. So, this is speculation from my end. And I imagine if they're unwilling to release the body camera footage, it's probably because there's some debate amongst the police officers themselves about what they should do.
Yeah.
And I don't even want to say I understand, because I think that it's a bullshit justification of, it's totally a good Germans thing of like, oh, I'm just following orders. You know, I have to, that's what my chief said. I have to listen. That's what my commanding officer said. I have to listen. Right. To which I would ask you, would you rather be the person explaining to the chief why kids are dead, or like, would you rather be explaining to the parents why their children are dead, or explaining to the police chief why you didn't listen to your commanding officer and you saved children? Mm-hmm. You know, I would rather explain why I didn't listen to my commanding officer than explain to parents why their children are dead because I chose to sit at the end of a hallway and not do what I knew what was right within myself.
Mm-hmm. And I think we talked about this before, but the oath that a police officer swears when they become inducted into the actual law enforcement, once they pass academy and so on and so forth, can vary from state to state. But what kind of human being are you that is in a position of authority in law enforcement?
Lethal authority.
Where you choose to fall back on the, well, I was just following orders instead of saving people. How much of a piece of shit are you that you would sit there probably 15, 20 feet away from an active shooter who's murdering children, and you're just going to go, I was just following orders, man. You're a fucking piece of shit.
Oh, he told me not to go in. I couldn't go.
There was there's nothing I could do. No. The door was unlocked, and my police chief said, wait.
We all had rifles, and someone had a shield, and we still couldn't go in.
Yep.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, because this fucked up piece of shit as the NPR guys. Orlando.
I love that so much.
Okay, you know what? If you're gonna try to be culturally friendly and try to use some accents when you're pronouncing people's name, you don't need to do it to this giant ass piece of shit. Okay, you don't need to be friendly to him. Nobody gives a fuck what his name is. He's the biggest piece of shit in the country right now, and you should have just done what you knew was correct and tried to fucking save some people.
This article says that Arredondo he ordered law enforcement to try and negotiate with the gunman. So let's see.
Which I thought.
Uvalde, Texas negotiator tried phoning school shooter. Oh my God. A negotiator tried futilely to reach the Uvalde, Texas school shooter on the phone as cops waited to take out the crazed gunman, and terrified kids called 911 begging for help. He literally tried to send in tried to have a negotiator call when... You've got to be fucking kidding me.
Yeah.
I don't remember who it was that testified in front of the state Congress, but they were saying, they even called it the Columbine Doctrine. Like, there's a set of rules based on the Columbine school shooting that lays out what you should do. And it says, stop the fighting. So stop the shooting. That's insane.
Period. From everything that I've heard so far at this point, every single officer that has showed up on that scene had standing orders to engage the shooter regardless of circumstance upon arrival. None of them did that. Every single one of these people. And including the Border Patrol people that actually finally went in to do that. I'm telling you, as a human being who is ready and capable of engaging in that scenario as a law enforcement officer, whether federal, state, or local, you should not have a job right now if you did not go in and do that. Period. What is your fucking job? It's to stand out. It's to follow orders, like you're in the military. Military is slightly different. Like, we could talk about rules of engagement and so on. You're a civilian law enforcement officer, dude. There's people in there with their rights being actively infringed upon, and you refuse to do anything because your boss says not to. In the military world, we call that an illegal order, and we say, fuck you, we're doing it anyways, and we move in and we take care of business.
Yeah, exactly. I understand even, like, the commanding order. You know, I understand the chain of command that exists, like I said, in the military and in the police. I understand that. But there's, just like we were talking about with all of these other topics, when you're talking about with Roe or with gun rights, your morals stand above this. Your rights stand above this. Yeah. If you know that this is wrong, what you're being ordered to do is wrong, it is incumbent upon you to do the right thing, especially, as you said, placed in a position of lethal authority.
Yeah.
You have a rifle of the exact same qualifications that the shooter has. We're supposed to believe that you individually can outmatch him with the same firearm. You're better trained. You're a police officer, right?
Yeah.
Fucking kill him.
Regardless.
He is killing children in that room right there.
Yep.
Fucking kill him.
Go now.
And now there's 7 of you. There's 10 of you. There's 19 of you at a certain point, and you still don't do anything.
Yeah. In my personal opinion, every single one of these law enforcement officers should be, what's the equivalent of being disbarred from law enforcement ever again? You know, I don't think there is such a thing, but
just completely stripped of your badge.
You are not allowed to do this anymore. You've already proved that you are incapable or unwilling to do your job. You will never again hold a law enforcement position, period, full stop. And you're lucky if we don't charge you as an accessory to the murder of these kids, because you refused to act when you had the means and you had the authority. Every time we get an update about Uvalde, it gets worse and worse and worse. And on top of that, they're going to demolish the school.
Yes.
Can I just say that you can't, bro, I don't know who needs to get involved here. I am not one for government authority. Listen to part 3 or 4 if you want confirmation on that. But we don't have all the answers yet. We never got any answers for Vegas. The Las Vegas shooting, we didn't get any answers at all. This school should not be demolished until we have a 100% accurate recountment of exactly what happened. And if they do demolish the school before that happens, all you're going to do is you're going to breed more and more dissent and conspiracy out of that.
All the
Because
stuff that goes on with Sandy Hook, yeah, it's just
about
gonna-
as sus as you could be, you're going to do the worst and most suspicious thing ever. Oh, thanks, guys. Appreciate the support. But it was never a problem. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't. Hey, man.
Excellent.
I have also been down that road as well. It happens, man. Sometimes you get going down a road, and good on you for recognizing that and being, I'm just going to take a break for a minute. You know, everybody, I believe, should have some form of a sober October, if you will, to use the Joe Rogan phrase. Give yourself a month where you have a vice that you don't do anymore. Catholics call it Lent. It's a good deal, man. I like it because it's a good thing to prove that there's something out there that you don't need.
Yeah.
And then you can go back to it even more after that and be like, yeah, you know, I'm back into this because I know I can give it up. I don't want to make light of that situation, bro. Good on you for taking some time off.
No, I'm here for it. So as we said last week, this is, as far as Uvalde goes, this is what happens when you leave your protection up to the state. It's not a good look, and this is why it's so important that you have the ability to defend yourself in the way that you see fit. We saw all these parents that were stuck outside the school. We saw a mother that was arrested who had to talk herself free and then work her way into the school to save her own children. This is unacceptable. These people are supposedly, according to the social contract that none of us ever signed, they are supposed to have the lethal authority that we talked about in a trade-off to defend us all. Instead, they would rather hem us up and do nothing while our children are killed. So
yeah,
do not leave your self-defense or your right to self-defense or your ability, your protection up to the state.
Yeah. And hey, man, take a page from the leftists that are now saying that the Supreme Court is illegitimate. You know your rights. Use them.
That's right.
And, oh, man, was it a... I'm not recalling off the top of my head, but there was a guy whose wife was a teacher at the school. I thought he was a police officer that tried to get in, and they took his gun and detained him so that he couldn't get in. Was he a police officer?
His wife called him and told him that she had been shot and that she was dying. And he went to the school, and the police officers not only arrested him, but took his firearm and turned him away. Well, he's a police officer.
I want to say something that I shouldn't right now. Fucking turn and face the wall, dude. Anybody that stops somebody like that, you don't deserve anything more than that. Period. I'm not going to say it.
Your wife is bleeding out in a classroom and you're hemmed up.
You're going to fucking stop me from that? Dude, there is no force on earth except for sheer physical overpowering me.
You don't even care about your own team at that point. Like you don't even care about your own team.
No, bro.
This guy's on your team, dog.
No. I will use William Wallace as an example because I know he would understand. But let's say Will Wallace and I were cops at that situation, and then my wife calls me, and that's the situation, and Will goes, bro, but we can't do that. I'm not gonna let you stop me. Period. I don't care who it is. It could be you. There's nothing to stop me, and I would hope that you would assume the same thing.
100%.
Nothing on this earth would stop me from attempting to resolve that situation.
Yeah, no, I told you last week when we talked about the mother who was hemmed up that I know there's
nope.
I carry all the
Shoot
time.
me.
There, yeah, no, 100%. I would rather draw than be stopped from saving the life of my son.
Yeah,
trying to save him with every fiber of my being.
Yeah. And I'm going to die happy knowing what is going to happen to you after that, because the public opinion, the court of public opinion on that one, dude, you're not making it out the other side. There's no way anybody with two fucking cents that can rub together and make some common sense is going to understand that one, period. Where do you think, let's put it this way, when do you think the conversation about Uvalde is going to end? I mean, we got the legislation passed. That was the big thing, you know, the do something bill. So we did something. Is the conversation about Uvalde going to stop now? Is it going to go by the wayside, in your opinion? We got all sorts of other big fish to fry and take over the narrative. Just a matter of if they want to.
No, I think that I'm just thinking. I think that it's possible. Yes, I think probably yes. Something happened, and now like something happened, quote unquote. There was a bill that was passed, and it's, according to the left, it's never going to be enough, and according to the right, it's always too much.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that it's going to be just like Gabby Giffords, just like all these other Sandy Hook. It's going to be just like that. It'll be another statistic that adds to it. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. We talked about that last week, the episode before. So these people don't really care. They don't care about these children. They don't care about the kids that died. That's why they were so willing to make points about politics or political points before they even knew what the details of the situation were.
Mm-hmm.
They're talking about
all
weapons and all kinds of stuff before they even know what's happened yet. They don't even have any details, and they're willing.
It was immediate, man.
It's because they don't care.
Yeah.
It's not about that. It's about the means to the end. As we talked about in the 2 seconds before this, it's about power. They want to take that power, and this is a beautiful opportunity to strip more power from people. This gives them just another angle into the door of your house now, because they have an incentive for red flag laws in your states if you don't already have them. There's financial incentive. So if your state is in any kind of financial
everybody needs a bigger budget, man. Everybody needs a bigger budget.
There's money there.
Yeah.
Well, you had a state legislature last year or in 2020 that cut your budgets because of George Floyd. Now 2022, you're Republican again. Here's some money. You want to put a new law in there? All you got to do, it's just a little law.
Yeah.
Got a bunch of new money for your police department. You can hire more police officers. You can do all kinds of stuff. You can buy some equipment for the government. Do whatever you want.
Yeah.
No, I think you're right that money is going to be the doorway into all the states that don't already have them.
Yeah. And I can't think of a single politician alive today that I don't trust to not use that as a tool to get more money, to get more power. There's not a single one in Congress today or that's running that I know of that I could trust to not use that as a cudgel to get what it is that they want, which doesn't have anything to do with those dead kids.
Right.
It just has to do with them and their power and what they might in their highest and mighty dreams be able to achieve. They're not afraid to walk on the bodies of dead children to get there.
They don't care.
They don't. None of these people do. But there's... how do I want to phrase this? Remember that this school was used for testing by the federal government. It was indeed. It was indeed. They were given grant money too. And not a small amount of it. There's a lot of people... I'll say this. Just to protect my own ass on this one. There is a conspiracy theory floating around that questions how it is that this young man got a hold of all the super Gucci gear that he got a hold of at the time. And we talked about it a little bit last year.
The truck, the guns, the ammo.
Yeah. And there is definitely... It doesn't help that theory that there was a pretty decently sized grant appointed to these people if they went through these trainings and tried to go through, set up the procedures for mass shooting situations and all that.
Just went through the training, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't help the false flag crowd narrative when that kind of stuff comes to light, because realistically, when you think about the bloated government bureaucracy that is handing a buttload of money to a small-time department or a state that just disseminates money to here or there, and these people don't have any idea what to do to this thing. They just, here's the guidelines we need to follow to make sure that we can get this money. Let's get that money. Let's do this thing, and let's do this training, and then we're much better off fiscally than we were last year. Why would we not do this? It seems like a good thing. But at the end of the day, some of these people are fucking morons.
Right.
Who just care about the sanctity and safety of their job. And yeah, it would be nice to have all this super Gucci gear for our super small town police force. And we'll get that.
Maybe.
If we follow the guidelines here and we get this program, we get all this money. Like, you don't have to go too far down the conspiracy train to just assume that these people are fucking idiots who just took their chance to fatten their budget a little bit.
Right, because
and set up some SOPs.
Because most of us who live in a small town, big town, anybody who know people who stayed there, someone who's a cop who probably shouldn't be a cop.
Word.
You know someone who, at the end of the day, they're like, I'll just fucking be a cop because it pays $70K a year, and that's a good job where I'm from.
Yeah.
I
think cops are a lot like presidents. I don't think anybody who wants to be a cop should be a cop.
They're just people.
I I think somebody that truly cares about your rights and your safety, who doesn't want to be in that position, should probably be in that position. Just like the president. You know, most politicians, if you want to be a politician, you probably shouldn't be one. If you don't want it, but you care so deeply about those rights and the community of people that should have those rights that you see every day are being infringed upon, you should probably be a politician, even though you don't want to. Thomas Massey, for God's sakes, he was kind of forced into that position because his local government was coming down on his ability to run his little homestead farm. And then, boom, now he's thrust into the federal fucking, into federal politics. He doesn't want to be there necessarily. Now he's there. He has a purpose. He has a bigger purpose. He has a higher calling. But nobody that wants to be a politician, nobody that wants... Law enforcement is a little bit different, obviously, because people can obviously want to help their communities. But if you deeply, deeply, deeply want to just be a police officer, to be a law enforcement officer, to have the power and the authority to make sure your community is safe, seems like the wrong approach to me. I feel like you should care at a deeper level before you, and you should not want to do most of the things that police officers do. You should not want to give out traffic tickets. You should not want to, sit there with a fucking speed gun on the side of the road, catching people doing something wrong. No, you should want to ensure that your community is safe and a couple other things. Make sure that the rights of your community are maintained and protected.
You should almost be losing your job all the time because you're not giving out enough tickets.
Yes. Yes, that is a great way to put it.
You should be running the border of keeping your job because you're like, they don't need it. They just needed a reminder.
Exactly. Can I pass? Thank you, sir. It's not. I want to put this Uvalde thing to bed for now.
Yeah.
But I don't trust anything I hear about it. I don't like what I do hear about it, and I don't think there's going to be any kind of actual resolution in this situation. And I think that in it just alone is a fucking travesty. Don't get me started about we have no closure on Las Vegas, but we are not going to have closure on Uvalde, period. We're not going to. All the questions that we want answered are not going to be answered. And something else is going to grab our attention and we're going to move on and people are going to forget about it. And that is a goddamn travesty. And every single one of those teachers and children that died, they're going to die for nothing. And that's sad to me. It's really sad. I'm getting all emotional and shit. It really is, man. Like, grown up now, like watching Dax grow up has severely affected my relationship with young people because that little shithead of yours is adorable and he is the most lovable thing on the planet. And I can't imagine the pain that these parents have to go through because the people that should have been a man, that should have done their goddamn job, didn't do it for some arbitrary bullshit reason. This is not just me getting upset about, procedural shit not being followed or constitutional rights being followed. These are fucking kids, man. It continues to happen. And because I am a 2A advocate, an absolutist, does not change my emotions about this tragedy. And there will be another one. I don't care that we did something because we just went over the legislation in part 3 or 4. That's not going to change a goddamn thing. It's not going to stop the next one, period. All you're going to do is prevent anybody that might be able to help. You're going to prevent them from being able to help. And if the usurpation of your rights aren't going to do it, it's going to be the goddamn law enforcement's on the scene to stop you from doing it. And it's the same goddamn story every fucking time. The only thing I can even pretend might make a difference is that every single person in that community is strapped up and knows how to use their fucking firearm and is not willing to put up with any of this bullshit. That's the only thing that's going to stop this stuff, for people to take personal responsibility and handle some shit that needs to be handled, regardless of whatever the arbitrary laws are in place at that place. That goddamn cop, the guy that got arrested and his gun taken away for trying to save his wife, dude, every single one of those officers should have been in that same exact position doing that same exact thing. They should have assumed that every one of those kids in that school was their kid. They should have acted accordingly. And it's not just the Uvalde police, that's the real tragedy here. It's not just the Uvalde police, man. We see it happen all the time.
It's a microcosm of the true issue.
Amen. It is just a single data point that has been thrust into our attention. This happens every fucking day. Not every day, but every law enforcement officer that makes a terrible decision because there's externalities that push on them to not make the right call, to not do the right thing because of one reason or another. There's 1,000 reasons, but I'm so fucking tired of hearing about this shit because it is a tragedy. And just because I'm a 2A absolutist, like I said earlier, doesn't take away the emotions that I have around this tragedy. It is a fucking tragedy. There's no two ways around it, man. Just because I can have a logical and reasonable conversation about why the action you want to take is irrelevant, wrong, and probably backwards, and will probably make the situation worse, doesn't mean that I don't care about those kids, man. And I'm so tired of fucking being told that that's why I have the opinions I have, because I don't care about children. I don't care about the lives of children. Fuck you.
You just care about guns.
Fuck you.
Right.
That's what I got to say about that.
Oh, Colin.
It's been a minute since I got emotional on the
We're out here, bro.
This is a good
We're out
one.
here.
This is a good one. Yeah. On this note, I also got to say, this beer that I had, the CCP beer, I'm never buying again. It's not good. It's not good, man.
Oh.
The puffed rice pale ale is not a winner, dude. Not a winner. Do you have anything else to say on the Uvalde situation?
No, of course not.
Yeah.
Of course not. That was beautiful.
How do you follow Joey Coco Diaz, man? That's
You do
how.
not. No.
Exactly.
This is I'm officially titling this Colin's show. This is it.
It's been a couple weeks, but
No, and we're gonna finish on one of your favorite topics because earlier this week,
yes, we are.
Juuls got banned by the FDA.
Yeah.
Of just a few days after Joe Biden and the Biden administration said they want to start lowering the amount of nicotine that are in cigarettes to non-addictive levels. I don't smoke anymore. I don't use Juuls anymore. My personal stance on it, obviously, you can't tell people what to do. There is no stance in which you should tell people what to do. There's no justification for telling people what to do for what they want to consume for their own body. We talked about this earlier with illicit drugs. I don't care if you want to smoke meth, you want to shoot heroin, you want to smoke heroin, you want to do whatever. I don't care. It is none of my business at all. And it's especially none of the federal government's business to be telling people what they can and cannot consume. People know by now cigarettes are bad for you. We know that.
We know that.
We know that nicotine is addictive. Everybody knows that. When I was 16 years old, I knew that cigarettes are bad for you. I still started smoking cigarettes.
I was going to say.
I was still.
Yep.
I got on the bus. I remember vividly being told by the bus driver, hey, you need to smoke farther away from the school bus stop.
Just go that way.
You cannot do that here.
25 feet, all right? That's all I
You need
want.
to step back 20. Yes. You just can't be that close to the school bus stop because you're not allowed to smoke here.
Yeah.
That's.
I am willing to give liberty enough for 25 feet. Right. I'm good with that because
Even at 16, I didn't care. I'll step back. I don't care. I'm going to smoke a cigarette either way. But
exactly.
I don't care.
I don't smoke cigarettes anymore. And I struggle today with nicotine addiction. All the time.
Juuls.
I love Sweet Lady Nicotine in all her various forms.
Little Nicky.
If you were not married and I had a can of Copenhagen sitting in front of you, I would think that at some point you're throwing the fucking dip in. Right? Because as anybody that has had a relationship with Sweet Lady Nicotine knows,
I love it.
It's not. You can be addicted to nicotine pretty much instantly. It's almost. I don't quote me on this shit, but I'm fairly sure that I've heard studies say that nicotine is more addictive than cocaine. Because it's super quick. Because it plays specifically off of your dopamine receptors and things like that.
Okay.
It just hits so hard and so quick, and you get an instant relief, and you get a little bit of a buzz. You get a head high. It's a very rewarding drug to intake. Now, as a former smoker, I can attest to the fact that I don't want cigarettes in restaurants. I don't think there should be a federal law mandating that you can't. I think it would be up to the restaurant owner and any restaurant owner with half a brain in his mind would make sure that people are not smoking in his restaurant, because if there is one person smoking indoors, everybody knows it. That's how it goes, man. You understand the deal, and it is just kind of a dick move to other people, because that shit does not smell good. It does not smell good. It does not taste good. We all know that.
Yeah.
And so those kind of accommodations I'm willing to undergo, because it's more of like a respect for your fellow man thing. Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick.
Don't be a dick, and that's fine. You know it smells bad. You wake up in the morning after have a cigarette, and your mouth tastes like any analogy that is the most stomach churning thing you could think of.
That's what made me stop smoking cigarettes, was the smell.
It's terrible.
And the taste when I woke up the next morning.
How about this for those non-smokers out there? You go to a casino where smoking is allowed, right? You might get an initial whiff of it when you first get there, but they have these hardcore ventilation systems so that like you walk into the main game room, there's not like a cloud of smoke there. They suck that shit out pretty quick. But no matter what happens, you're going home and you're getting up the next morning and you're like, bro, how was I in the smokehouse? What happened? I don't remember what was going on. You smell like fucking cigarettes, period. So I understand the need to separate the general public, I guess, from it. But what Joe Biden now and the Biden administration is looking at, I'm just going to pull this article up real quick from Axios. The Biden administration wants to take buzz out of cigarettes. So the Biden administration wants, and this was last week or earlier this week. I can't remember.
This week. Juuls just happened on like Thursday.
Yeah, but then that was. We'll get to that. We will get to that. But
yes,
the Biden administration wants to make the tobacco industry cut back the amount of nicotine in cigarettes sold in the United States to non-addictive levels. We'll just continue. Why it matters. The bid to essentially take the buzz out of cigarettes, fucking Axios, do better than this. Smoking cigarettes would be unprecedented in a long-running public health fight to curb tobacco use, which the FDA says leads to more than 480,000 deaths per year. That really only matters if you have a socialized healthcare system, or in some manner, some way for the taxpayer to contribute to that, because then it costs the other taxpayers dollars to take care of somebody else that is making a bad decision, which is also why it's a whole other thing. But that's the only thing tied to this, is so that why would you care if somebody decides to smoke and give themselves cancer? Why would you care? Only because at the end of the day, you might have to help pay for that. That's not fair. That's an infringement on your rights. It is.
So you think this is possibly like a means to an end then?
Yes, this is a means to an end. And the dead giveaway is the fact that they're not going after one of the most addictive and most widely used drugs of choice in America, which is alcohol.
Right.
Alcohol, for one, cigarettes, if you quit cigarettes, they're not going to kill you if you're hardcore addicted to nicotine. Alcohol will literally kill you if you are alcohol dependent.
Death, right.
100%. Okay. And you can drink yourself to death, yes.
And you cannot drink yourself to death if you drink too much.
Exactly. It's a whole deal. But if you're not willing,
interesting, because I've always been obviously on board with like you can't tell people what to do. All of these people who smoke, who now you have to be 21, so you definitely know what you're doing. Yeah. If you're choosing to smoke, you know what you're doing, and it's a choice. You can't.
Well, hey, Donovan, your prefrontal cortex is not developed until you're 25. Oh,
I love it.
I can't get it. One thing we didn't quite touch on in the gun bill was that when you're 16 years old now, when you go buy a gun, right, you're 18 years old, they have the ability to check your minor record. That is how now all of a sudden you're 16 years old, and you're basically, anything you do when you're 16 now basically makes you an adult, not an 18. But that was a point I should have made back then, but we won't do it now. The red Gesundheit. That was a good one. That was a powerful one,
just
dude.
One.
A single. Part of the problem behind this thing, right? One of the reasons it's a ideologically driven bill is because there's no mention of any other addictive chemical in wide use today, much less any talk about like a cigar or pipe tobacco or something like that. It's specifically cigarettes, and as we'll go on, it's specifically Juul. Because these are targeted industries that the government doesn't like for one reason or another. But what they're trying to do, let's go back to here. Let's just continue to read. Why it matters. The bid to essentially take the buzz out of smoking cigarettes would be unprecedented in a long-running public health fight to curb tobacco use, which the FDA says leads to more than 480,000 deaths per year. I know we already covered that, but I broke it up because I'm an asshole. But it's sure to face vigorous opposition from tobacco interests, as well as libertarian-leaning consumer freedom groups. Driving the news, the FDA can't, and I'm actually kind of a fan of the way Axios lays out their stories.
Yes.
Driving the news. Yeah. The FDA can't actually just ban cigarettes, but can create product standards that make them less attractive, experts say. So on Tuesday, the agency proposed a rule to establish a maximum nicotine level in cigarettes and other certain finished tobacco products. It is unclear if they would do it at once or gradually, because tobacco-related harms primarily result from addiction to products that repeatedly expose users to toxins. FDA would take this action to reduce addictiveness to certain tobacco products, thus giving addicted users a greater ability to quit, regulators said. So I want to stop there for a second because...
So it's really because you're a slave to cigarettes.
Yes.
It's because you're a slave to nicotine.
It's
really
because,
what it is.
Yes, it's because... And honestly, I think there's a little bit of, argument to this. Like,
right, nicotine is harder to kick than opioids because it
Yes.
affects a different part of your brain than affects patterns of normal activities in the brain.
Right. 100%. Yeah, it definitely does. I haven't been addicted to a lot of things in this world, but I have been addicted to nicotine, and it is not a fun situation to get off of. It's something you have to plan for. It's something you have to think about, and you have to tell everybody in your orbit that you're going to go through it because you're going to be a different person for 7 to 14 days.
Right.
And then after that, then you just have to struggle with the habitual problems that come after addiction, which any addict, I think, can talk to at all. But what we're talking about here is industries that have vastly relied on widespread marketing, which is putting these people in the eye of the U.S. government and specifically the FDA. They're not talking about cigars, and they're not talking about pipe tobacco. They're not talking about nicotine as it is delivered in the form of a tobacco leaf.
It's just cigarettes.
It is just cigarettes. And that's particularly because the industry behind cigarettes have marketed themselves into the spotlight. It's the same reason why Juul, which we'll talk about here in a second, also is the only vape product that is under the microscope right now. It's because they have gone down the pharmaceutical drug, big pharma road and decided to widely market their product to people they think that would use it. And I have problems with that because I don't like marketing, period. I have a huge problem with people trying to sell you something. And that's why when I was 18 years old, I cut the cable and I got rid of fucking cable, and I have never gone back, is because every single advertisement that you get is trying to sell you something, and fuck them. I am not a commodity to be bought and sold. This is something you should tell me what it is, and I will make up my own goddamn mind.
You're so
fuck you
today, bro.
for trying to make me spend my dollars on you. I'm not going to do it.
Today.
So, anyway, so they're trying to talk about cutting back nicotine cigarettes, which I think if you are a nicotine user, you will understand that as a logical fallacy and is a ridiculous concept, because there are tobacco leaves that you can get raw that once they are dried in the most organic and natural way possible, with no additives or anything, can range between, say, 0.3% alcohol or nicotine to 9%, depending on what type of tobacco you're talking about. The South American nicotine or tobacco that's like the hardcore stuff. The stuff they grew in Virginia and all that stuff is generally between 1% and 3%. So when you get like a Marlboro Red, you're getting some relatively low dose type of shit. So to remove the amount of nicotine in that means that you're going to have to undergo another chemical process to extract nicotine from a natural resource that's already there. I understand that in the cigarette industry specifically, there are a bunch of other nasty, nasty shit in there that are definitely carcinogens and that are definitely killing you. I understand that. Anybody that doesn't know that, you should fucking learn, because every time you smoke a cigarette, this is why I don't smoke cigarettes anymore because that shit's nasty.
The filter is
really bad.
Right.
It really is. But when you're talking about the actual nicotine itself, what you're talking about is a naturally occurring chemical in a naturally derived and grown plant. Period. It's like weed. Natural weed, cannabis has THC content to it. Hemp does not.
Right.
We smoke cannabis. We don't smoke hemp. You smoke tobacco because of the nicotine that's in it, because it gives you certain something. You drink a beer not because necessarily it tastes good. It does. But you drink beer because of the whole package involved. You drink it because of the alcohol content, generally speaking. You might just really like beer. I don't know. I'm not going to make judgments, obviously. But this is just nothing but I don't see this any more than when, it's not any bigger than when Bill de Blasio tried to take giant sugary drinks out of the hands of people in New York City.
The soda ban.
It is a morality law that they are trying to pass to get something they think is correct. They want to save people. So they want to save them from killing themselves by smoking cigarettes. And that's not the government's remit.
Right.
It has nothing to do with what they are supposed to do as, their job is to not do that, period. Unless we ask them to do that, which we have not asked for. I don't remember voting on something like that. It's never come across my table. You just you elect somebody because they say certain things that's a whole different subject. This whole thing is so contrary to the freedom of, to your enumerated rights. You have the right to drink alcohol. That one they actually threw in the Constitution because at one point they banned it, and then they had to repeal that shit. Right. And so that's why they're not coming out after alcohol. If there is one thing in America that kills more people than anything else, it's probably alcohol abuse. It's not good for you, man. Does it stop people from making that informed decision? Are most people actually informed about the decision they're making? Probably not.
Joseph just made the choice to quit after 18 plus days.
Amen.
18 plus a night, he said, I'm going to take it. I'm going to chill for 2 weeks.
18 plus a night. It's probably a good thing to take a break.
So a lot of days in a row.
It's a good one. That's a good decision to make for yourself.
It's a good streak.
It's a good streak. It's not one I would be proud of. I will say that much. But, it leads to bigger things that will destroy us as free people. Amen, buddy. It's a slippery slope. And every slope that is slippery is a slope you should not begin to go down.
I love it so much.
I don't think that's too much to ask.
No.
If you consider it a slippery slope, that's your red flag to say we shouldn't be talking about legislating this. So, to get further into the more applicable news, because we haven't seen anything that has actually come through that. They've talked about banning menthol cigarettes before as a thing because it's a flavor and, all I'm saying is try to pull Newports out of New York and you will have revolution. I feel like I'm getting some feedback in my headphones here. Do me a favor. Pull this thing just a little tighter to you. I wonder if it's maybe picking up on the Wi-Fi signal it's picking up. I'm sorry if you guys are hearing that stuff. Otherwise, I just sound like a crazy person. But the big news this week was when... Oh, where's my Juul ad? Just had it. The Biden administration... via the FDA, cracked down on Juul, the company that makes...
Just Juul. Which was the weirdest thing about the whole deal.
I'm just going to... I can't remember what window I left my Juul stuff.
You got a Juul article. You got a Juul... Oh, look at all them tabs.
Yeah, there we go. Here we go.
There it is.
Appeals court. So this is from...
Look, she's Juuling.
Why would you zoom in on that particular person to do that one? I mean, it's like, come on, bud. But
because look at her lips, bro.
Yeah. So
artistically,
oh man, I fucked up. Here we go.
That's the same woman. It is a different angle.
It's the same person.
That's weird.
So, and this is from NBC News, right? That's NBC or is that ABC?
That's NBC.
The Peacock. And then on the Wall Street Journal, they obviously used the same person. It's the same goddamn photographer. What is photo from? What's that?
What does it say underneath it? Underneath the picture?
Underneath the FDA said that Juul hadn't submitted sufficient evidence that its devices were safe. That's the argument that the FDA is using to crack down on Juul.
I wonder if that's like if it's from a study or something, because that's so weird. They have a different picture of the same woman.
The picture,
that's so
the picture
weird.
came from the same person that is that works for AP, that sold the picture to the AP.
Word.
So all this
He's
stuff
just
comes from the
clacking
same
all
thing.
around this woman.
Yeah. And if you don't know, this is how the corporate press works.
Right.
How many articles do we read all the time that are just a news network reporting off another news network? So this one I wanted to kick off because it comes from Timcast, and as you know, Timcast holds a very special place in my heart. So the Food and Drug Administration bans Juul e-cigarettes, and this was written by the wonderful Cassandra Fairbanks, who has got a weird obsession with monkeys, on the 23rd. So we're talking last Thursday. This was a very last minute deal. So what they did is, here, quote, as a result, here we go. According to the FDA's press release, all Juul products must be removed from the U.S. market. As a result, the company must stop selling and distributing these products. In addition, these currently on the U.S. market must be removed or risk enforcement action, the announcement said. Today's action...
Pull them off the shelf, huh?
Pull them off the shelf. Otherwise, yeah, the day after this came out, were they pulled off the shelf? They were not.
Did you get yours?
I'm not willing to divulge. I'm pleading the fifth on that one. Today's action is further progress on the FDA's commitment to ensure that all e-cigarettes. I will neither confirm nor deny my culpability in this crime in which you state.
Of Juul pods. Right? Of the illicit product once known as a Juul pod.
Yeah. So I could go on. I'm not going to. They make a bunch of bullshit arguments about why they have the necessity to do this. They've put up arbitrary regulations. Back when I was a very heavy vapor, they cracked down on all the kind of like the mom and pop shop, e-stores that were ordering their own chemicals to mix their own flavorings and then sell them to the public. And the FDA decided to come out and say, you can't do that without running it through us. Oh, and by the way, it's approximately $1 million to get one flavor put through and approved by the FDA. And that's not even to guarantee approval. That's just to put it through the system. I had a conversation with one of the local guys who, it should be no surprise to anybody, is no longer in business after that situation happened. Because it was up to Juul, who was the biggest competitor on the market at that point. They were the only ones that could actually foot the bill to get things through the FDA. And now, much like the NFA, the FDA really can just change their regulations at whatever time they want to achieve the goals that they deem necessary. So they came after Juul and they said, you got to pull the shit. You got to pull it. And within 24 hours, there was a court injunction. Let's see, what is a good one? Let's just go to the Wall Street Journal's one on this one. Appeals court delays FDA ban on Juul e-cigarettes. A federal appeals court on Friday granted Juul Labs, Inc. a temporary stay of the Food and Drug Administration's order for the vaping company to pull its e-cigarettes off the U.S. market. A panel of judges from the U.S. Court of Appeals from the D.C. Circuit on Friday afternoon granted Juul's request to delay the FDA's ban. According to court documents, the temporary stay gives the court time to hear arguments and wasn't a ruling on the merits of the case, the judge wrote. Because that's what a stay is called. It has no fucking sway either way. They're saying, okay, we're going to pause the ban to hear the arguments. There's nothing more than that. I hate the fact that you actually have to say that. The FDA Thursday had begun to enforce its order, sending notices to retailers. Meanwhile, some customers were scrambling to stock up on Juul products before they might be taken off the shelves. Again, pleading the fifth. On Friday morning, Juul petitioned the court for relief, saying the FDA's order was extraordinary and unlawful, and it would suffer significant, irreparable harm without a stay, according to its court filing, which was partly redacted. Why exactly would you have to partially redact that, by the way?
For the children.
For the children. I'm glad you said that, actually. Because the children is generally the argument associated with the Biden administration's approach to all this stuff. It's because parents can't control their children.
That's why the flavors were taken off the market.
That's why the flavors were taken. That's why today you cannot buy the original creme brulee or the original, I think it was berry mix when it came out. You can only buy menthol and tobacco flavored, which
gross.
Do not do the tobacco flavor.
So you hit the menthols?
I smoked Newports when I lived in New York. We'll put it that way.
Ooh.
Newport's menthol's the way to go if that's what you're going to do.
If you're going to smoke a menthol, smoke a Newport.
Amen, buddy. That's all I'm saying.
If you're going to smoke a menthol. Yeah.
So, but this only came after Juul made a public announcement that said they would have to seek bankruptcy if this was going to happen. Because
I remember you telling me
how is it that you decide that a multi-million-dollar industry can just go bankrupt overnight because you decide to pass an arbitrary regulation, not a law, but like an NFA-style regulation that says, you can't sell this shit anymore. You can't do that. Don't worry that all the other off-brand things that they're selling the shelf for two underneath you, we don't have any problem with that right now. You're just the big fish here that's been fighting us all along. So we're going to come down on you. And it was immediately after that press conference, and I would assume that as soon as the feds came after them, the FDA came after them, they immediately sucked their, lawyers in this thing and said, hey, man, we need an injunction. We need to stop this thing. We need to have an argument because this is bullshit. This needs to be a law. This cannot be a regulation at the whims of whoever is in power at the FDA. You
to
cannot
ban
do
one
this.
particular company's products from the market.
One company's products. This has nothing to do with the entire cigarette market.
Because you don't like the way that they marketed the particular product. There's all this in...
And I'm not going to argue that the Juul did not fuck up and go on a hardcore marketing campaign.
When they promoted like a bunch of people like Supreme Patty and like TikTok influencers and shit that were selling like wraps for your fucking Juul stick, for your battery. So they definitely, whether or not they were intentionally trying to go for children, I don't know, definitely the youth, the young market. Mm-hmm. And you have to know in 2022, in the 2020s, in the 2010s, when social media is all the craze, if you're catching 20-year-olds, you're also catching 16-year-olds. That's an umbrella that hits both sides of that.
There is not going to be... Let's put it this way. I have tried to convince somebody that we both know to quit smoking cigarettes all the time because they go through a pack or two a day, and it's not a good thing. And I've tried to get them to move away from that. And generally speaking, it's harder in older crowds to convince somebody to move to something different like that, especially when it comes to a drug where they get some form of dopamine response to it. I mean, try and convince an old timer not to drink fucking Coors lattes anymore or get away from Busch Light, that thing they've been drinking for 30 years. I mean, try to convince them to come over to a different area. Try to get over to the seltzer game. That's not going to play well in Peoria, man. It's not going to work for a lot of those people that are doing that. So naturally, as a company, as a corporation, that your marketing dollars are going to be wasted on a specific audience. The corporate press is not trying to target certain people. They're trying to target people in, what do they call that? I forget what it is. The something. It's like what is the term? It's killing me. The primary demographic. It's like the 18 through 45-year-olds or some shit like that. When you're trying to market a product, there is a market for it, and you're going to market to that community, to that industry, to whatever the case may be. And while I may have moral judgments to who it is that Juul is probably marketing to, I have a bigger problem with their need to market to a specific community to begin with. I mean, understand it's a capitalist society, and I understand you're trying to make your nut, and I don't fault you for that specifically, but you don't have the moral scruples to say, let's just put this on the market. We already know it's nicotine is an addictive chemical. The product will do its own work. I am not spending a bunch of money to market Salt of the Streets. Neither is Donovan. It's because I don't, personally, I'm not going to speak for Donovan in this one, but I don't believe in targeted marketing campaigns. I think it's a shitty way to try to get what you think is yours. And if you cannot, I understand that a lot of times people will not be able to get their products to market if they do not rely on targeted marketing. But I think it's a shady game to play, and I don't like it. I don't appreciate it. I don't like you trying to sell me something. I want you to present your product, and I want to make the decision myself. I want to know that if I'm out if I'm out and I'm smoking a bunch of cigarettes and I wake up in the morning and I hate the taste in my mouth, but at the end of the day, I got to get up, I get out of the shower, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, it would be really good right now, a fucking cigarette. You know, I want to be able to see other people using another product and go, what the fuck's going on with that? What do you mean you don't wake up and your breath doesn't smell like shit every morning? It doesn't smell like, you know, an alligator's asshole. Right. Because that's kind of generally what it fucking feels like.
An alligator's asshole.
Yeah. You know, I don't
gators.
appreciate that. So I understand that much. But at the end of the day, what the fuck are we talking about here? Because I'm sitting here. I went to the store. You can go to a fucking gas station. You can go to a supermarket. You can go to an actual alcohol retailer. You can go to a restaurant. You can go damn near anywhere and find access to one of the most addictive chemicals on this planet that we call alcohol.
Right.
And there's no recourse about that. But this in particular, we're not okay with because we're going to say that you target children. It has nothing to do with the rest of Americans that are trying to quit smoking or trying to use a different alternative of nicotine. If I want to be a nicotine addict, there's nothing you can do about that, Mr. Biden. I don't care. You can't convince me. You cannot force me to break that habit. If this is something I want to do, I have the fucking right to do that.
100%.
Period. I don't care if I have to make it in my own goddamn house. I have the right to do whatever the fuck I want with my goddamn body. Whatever I put in here, it's my call, not yours. You have nothing to do with that.
Do we trust people to make their own decisions or do we not? You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Like I think alcohol is a fantastic example. Mm-hmm. You know, if you're able to choose to get drunk, smoking is no worse for you than drinking alcohol on a consistent basis. Do we or do we not trust people to do what they feel is right for themselves?
Yeah, and I think the Biden administration's answer to that is no, because we don't think people are making the right decisions. We want to make sure that legally they have to.
We're going to make sure if you fly, you know, for a certain period of time, you got to get a vaccination, you know? So no, of course we don't trust people to make the right discretion.
Or you got to go through that fucking security theater we call TSA.
Exactly.
Who was fucking bragging the other day. I tweeted about it, it was like this big, huge display of tables and stuff of liquids that they had confiscated from people trying to get on board planes and they were making a point like, this is, you know, the required maximum is like 3.4 float ounces or some shit like this. And there's a table full of water bottles and sodas and fucking peanut butter, snow globe souvenirs. And they're just bragging about confiscating all this property from everyday citizens who thought they were going to try to, you know, I don't know, be hydrated on a fucking flight. Fuck them, I guess.
Right.
They're breaking some arbitrary bullshit. Well, you know, it's a safer place now that we took all this shit away.
Hey, it's civil asset forfeiture, Colin, okay?
Take a fucking I don't know how you detonate C4 or chemical bomb. Do any of those things, do they explode when you activate them? No, which means that you confiscated them arbitrarily for no reason whatsoever. Because the whole idea about confiscating liquids is like bombs and shit like that.
Terrorists, Colin.
The goddamn terrorists win here.
It's for the safety of America.
If we don't confiscate your water bottle and your Skippy peanut butter jar and your snow globe you bought from another country to give to your grandchild, then the goddamn terrorists win, and you better believe that, all right?
How do we know if you're a terrorist or not? Snow globe equals terrorist.
Because I would try to blow up a plane with my shoe, Donovan. That's how that works. Exactly. So either way, I'm fired up about this. This is all nonsense bullshit. They're going to continue to come after it. But automatically, you know that their argument is bullshit because they're only coming after one specific industry. One specific company.
Yeah.
There's enough knockoffs now that you can get and way more fruity flavors again that they say attract so many, you know, young kids.
And that's you said I didn't know that. I'm not in the Juul, I'm not in the vape game anymore. So I did not know that.
I spend a lot of times at gas stations.
Right.
And when you go to Strebel's all the time, which is my local stomping grounds, you know, hit there. I got the Choco milk on Friday. It was real good. You know, you see them right there behind the thing. There's all the Rogues and all the different nicotine things. They're always behind the counter. For whatever reason, you can't have those things on the main aisle because I guess we don't trust Americans to do that. It's controlled
people would
stuff.
Probably steal them.
Well, you know,
if you're addicted to
there's
them.
Also, you know, there's beer sitting in the fridge that anybody can grab and run out with. But you know,
and people do be stealing that shit all the time. When I was in high school, it was just called a beer run. That's just what it was called. Just making a beer run. So you like walk up in a Safeway and you just grab a big ass rack of beer and just walk out.
You know what we called a beer run when I was in high school? It's when we gave our buddy's older brother or older sister like $20 to go pick us up a 6-pack, and that's what we call the beer.
Yeah, well, when you have money, that's what you do.
Hey man, not my fault. I had a job when I was 16. All right, it was forced on me.
We're talking about different socioeconomic circumstances. Okay,
I'm just being.
You're a North Ender. You don't know. You're a North Ender. You're not from Central. You don't know.
I'm just being incredibly discriminatory against people of different socioeconomic groups, and
bigot.
I'm just showing my privilege right now. Is what's happening.
I host a show with you. What's wrong with you?
Oh, let's read a couple comments real quick.
Yes.
Joseph Garrett. We seem to have 1 foot already on the slippery slope. We are going to do a split and pull on this line. I can't even get through it.
Or slide off the slippery slope at this point. That's awesome.
Amen.
Bilbo Swaggin says, we are at the end of our republic and we need to fight for it. Colin is a big advocate of that viewpoint.
Republic is dead, brother.
I hear that very often. If you hear one of our friends' brothers, he says, "Not dead, it's just dormant." I'll never forget that. That was so funny.
What do you say?
It was our friend's brother when you tweeted that at one point. And I think it was in response to something I said, and you said the republic is dead.
Yeah.
And our friend's brother said, "It's not dead, it's just dormant."
Oh yeah. I mean, there is a utopian world at which that could be possible.
Right.
But realistically, no. Once something's dead, bro, there's no zombification happening here. It's not coming back.
It was pretty funny.
I mean, I like to live in Zombieland too there. Oh, I remember who we're talking about now.
Yeah.
That makes it even more funny. No. So that's all I got on. Right now, there's a stay against it. I don't know what'll happen. I would assume that it'll fizzle out again because there is no real legal precedent to this. This is insane. It's the literally equivalent of Bill de Blasio trying to ban drinks with X amount of sugar in it. You can't do that. It's unconstitutional, man. People have the freedom to make their own choices. People have the ability to market whatever they want. It's
so
the stupidest
weird.
fucking thing in the world, but it's to protect the children. So it's
for the babies.
It's the only leg they have to stand on is the emotional pull from the, well, you're getting kids addicted to vaping real easy. Okay, first of all, let me address that real quick because you see these little fucks all around all the time. These little cloud puffers and shit. They got these giant ass fucking mods that have all these different parts. I used to be a part of that game back in the day.
One of those guys, don't lie.
Yeah, and then they puff on these things. They want to. Juul doesn't do that. Juul is not about that, man. This is Sean Hannity smokes a Juul in between fucking segments on Fox News and sometimes gets hemmed up because they go live and he doesn't remember and he's sitting there toking on his Juul.
Really?
It was a story like a year ago, yeah. It was not a big deal because who gives a fuck?
Oh, it's an enormous deal, Colin.
It's a very different thing than if you're sitting there with this giant-ass box mod hotboxing the fucking room with a bunch of vegetable glycol in the air. It's a totally different story. Kids... There's no way any parent can control whether their kids are going to smoke or drink. Actually, like physically, you cannot do that. What you can do is try to instill values and let them know and blah, blah, blah. You could do the whole parenting thing. And it's just a fucking shot, man. Did you listen to your parents when you were fucking 16?
No.
Probably not.
Not at all.
Are your kids going to listen to you when they're 16? Probably fucking not.
Kids
are stupid, man. That's what they do. Wait a man, Joseph. That's right. How many have crossed our southern border in the last year alone?
Oh shit, a lot. Yeah.
We haven't done a good immigration segment. We haven't done a good immigration segment in a long time, but I have a feeling that one is going to be overdue pretty soon because it hasn't gone away. The whole problem, the problems we were talking about back when we were talking about them have continued to happen every single day.
Yeah.
You got to remember, I forget his name, but one of the dudes from the riot squad has been down at the border lately making a bunch of videos on Twitter about just
the riot squad?
Hundreds. It's like Richie McGinnis.
Okay.
And
Okay.
There's like a crew of on-the-street journalists. They call it Riot Squad over at IRL. But he's been down there on the border and he's been interviewing people as they come across, and you could just sit there and for 10 minutes, there's 50 people that just kind of just come on through, and there's nothing being done about it. We've talked about the Biden administration shipping them all across the country in the dead of night via private charter plane, and certain federal employees and local law enforcement kind of, I don't want to say, they're like, what's the equivalent of a whisper? Like,
hey, don't talk about that.
They're just they're like trying to pretend that they're going to blow the whistle on it, but they're really not doing it.
Hey,
so
that's not important.
It's a whole
don't
thing
talk about that.
Yeah, we should eventually talk about an immigration.
It's been a while.
Sometime soonish, but honestly, when you do a show every 2 weeks, I mean, shit, this show didn't really write itself until halfway through the week last week, and we've been kind of scrambling to build this thing until now. But, it's just you handle the things as they come, and you take the things off the top. When the orders come in, you just grab the order off the top, and there's really only so much you could do there. But it definitely deserves more attention, and I would hope that other people, I mean, you got the Riot Squad folks down there doing it. I hope to, I'll retweet them every time.
100%. Bilbo Swaggins, I got to head out for the night. Hopefully you guys have a great night and a wonderful life. Good night, boys. Absolutely. Thank you, Bilbo, for being here. We're out of here in just a few minutes, so I want to thank you. You are a fantastic guest. We will be here back here in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks from today, we will be here. Joseph Garrett, I fear the day they show themselves reminds me of Mel Gibson's Patriot speech. Our children will learn of it, and there will... Yes.
With their own eyes.
Yes.
I feel fucking inspired. I'm going to have to rewatch Patriot tonight. Mostly so that I can try to picture you as Mel Gibson with that haircut.
We're getting there, bro.
Just to kind of make sure, I can square that shit away.
We're getting there. It's going to be like this.
I'll be here. Bilbo, you the man. Peace out.
Absolutely. Anything else you want to add to this here segment there, Colin?
No. I feel real happy about it.
Yeah, this has been a fantastic show.
Good show.
Great show.
Let me end on this question for you, good sir. Out of the 3 beers you had today, you had the we had the Crystal Weiss beer. You had your crazy. How did you say that? You said it all Frenchy.
La Fin du Monde.
La Fin du Monde, and your Jasmine beer. Which one do you think was your favorite?
I think the Jasmine tea is my favorite.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. You CCP shill.
Yeah, I liked that one a lot.
Well, good. I'm glad. It was really good. We're gonna have to try something like that when we get the brewery up.
Yes. Yeah.
So please give us a line tonight, my friend.
With that, walk out on. I just want to thank everybody again for being here. Bilbo, Joseph, everyone who was here for a few moments or for here for the entire show, however long you were here watching this. Afterwards, thank you again for joining us. Like, comment, subscribe, share with all of your friends. Go ahead and you can find us, obviously, on our Instagram, our Facebook, our Patreon.com, all at Salt of the Streets. We also have our personal social media. I'm at Salt of the Streets. All Salt of the Street on Twitter.
Singular.
That's right. Or at alpaca_Donovan on Instagram. At Colin is at Big Bird Alfie on both those things. You can find all this on saltofthestreets.com. It's all
just
right
pull
there,
it right there from the plug page. There you go.
Go to the Patreon, subscribe, help us make more better content just like this.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, we do have a quick little line for you. This is from our June book, actually from the book club, which is Can't Hurt Me.
Which means it's going to hit hard.
That's right. And it's just a short one. You heard a little bit of this earlier. This is from when David Goggins was running a race called the San Diego 100. My shins were the next domino to fall. Each subtle rotation of the ankle joint felt like shock therapy, like venom flowing through the marrow of my tibia. It brought back memories of my duct tape days from class 235, but I didn't bring any duct tape with me this time. Besides, if I stopped for even a few seconds, starting up again would be near impossible. A few miles later, my lungs seized. My chest rattled as I hawked up knots of brown mucus. It got cold. I became short of breath. Fog gathered around the halogen streetlights, ringing the lamps with electric rainbows, which lent the whole event an otherworldly feel. Or maybe it was just me in that other world, one in which pain was the mother tongue, a language synced to memory.
Powerful stuff. On that, we love you, everybody.
Good night, everyone.
Welcome to the Salt of the Streets, coming at you